What's up, YouTube? This is Howard Talks. Like and subscribe. Today, or if you want to call it night, because I am recording this at nighttime, I want to talk about my father. I lost my father this year to prostate cancer. It was crazy because I was going to online college, and I was telling my mentor that I had some concerns that maybe I had prostate cancer. Just going off basic Googling diagnosis and stuff like that. So I went and got screened for it, and I was good or whatever. And only to find out that my father had prostate cancer. Now, my father was diagnosed, I can't remember when he was diagnosed. It had to be at least maybe 2013, 14, or 15. One of the two. But he didn't tell me. He told my mom. And my mom had told him, "Are you going to tell your children?" And he didn't want to. And she had said, "Well, I think it's best that you tell your children what's going on." But he didn't have the strength to tell us. You know, my father is a man of much pride. And it's almost like if he can't control something, then he don't really want to tell nobody. But anyway, well, me and my father's relationship, it wasn't all that good, but it wasn't all that bad. It was only not all that bad because we really didn't talk. But we did. But it's not as much as I wanted to. Okay, so and my brothers and sisters, we all have different relationships with him. Some good, some good, and some bad. But the relationship I wanted to have with my father, it was kind of like I just wanted to have a relationship. No matter how it was done, I just wanted to have one with him. So, one thing that me and my father have in common is that we like to play lottery numbers. We like to play the lottery. That's just one of our things that we like to do. Although my father was better at it than me, you know, I like to play it. That's one of the things we have in common. So one of the conversations that we talked about was what numbers we was going to play and with if we hit. But you know me, I mainly like to ask him how his day is going and just check him periodically. So when the prostate cancer really kicked in, so he contacts my mother and told her what was happening. And that's when my mother had told him to tell his children, because the doctor only gave him like 6 months to live. So my mom told me a little bit about it, but I wanted my father to tell me himself, which he wasn't going to do. But then he told me what medication he was taking. And then that's when I knew. So we talk, but I don't feel like bringing that up. If you only had months to live, I didn't feel like bringing that up all the time to be talked about. You got your affairs and all that stuff in order. That's fine, but still, I didn't feel like bringing it up. So when I went down south to pick my daughter up, he had never met his granddaughter before. She's 17. So I brings her over to the house, and at this time we also have at the time a 2-year-old too. Now the 2-year-old happens to be my sister's daughter's child, but we have guardianship. So he got to meet them both. And he was really happy to see his grandchildren. So we stayed with him for a few days. And then the next following year, which happens to be this year, I think, no, this year, I'm trying to think. No, it was this year. It's this year. The cancer kicked into high gear. I'm gonna go back. I'm getting this mixed up, but oh jeez. I'm going to say maybe last year. Let me look real quick. Nothing in there. Let me look real quick, y'all. We'll go from there. Let's see. Okay, last year in June, it kicked into high gear. You imagine standing next to your father like in, February, and then by June, can't walk, can't stand. And when I was texting him, he seems to be in good spirit. We're still talking about lottery numbers and everything, but I didn't really know how serious it had got. But he had told me that he was doing the treatment. I just wish he would have started sooner, because if you diagnose early, then more than likely you can probably catch it and live a little longer. But my father was diagnosed early, and he just kind of like accepted his fate. But At the time we were still texting each other. But then it got to a point where he would rarely text me. So, one final text message I had texted him and checked on him, and his text message was a little around to, hey son, I'm doing all right, not much, nothing new, but but I probably won't be texting you no more after this text message, and my wife will just let you know what's going on and everything. And he said, I love you, and that was it. So my wife said, I think you should go and see him. Now, I wasn't going to at first, but then I said, okay. So we drove down there to North Carolina. And every time I go down there, I would tell his wife, don't tell him I'm coming. Because I don't want him coming up with no excuses why, he wouldn't be able to see me or something dumb like that. So she wouldn't tell him that I come and see him, because that's how I got him the last time. Because when me and my daughter and my wife and the other baby, we came, we didn't tell him he was coming. His wife knew he was coming. We didn't tell him that we was coming. So when he was outside just sitting on his phone, we were standing there looking at him. He turned to the side and seen us. He was happy and everything, but he's like telling his wife, I was like, you're supposed to tell me when these things happen. I said, I'm gonna get you. I said, yeah, Dad, I told her not to tell you if it was gonna come. Same concept with this visit. But his wife had said, when you go in here and see your dad, he's not gonna look the same, not like you seen him the last time. So I said, okay. So I went in there. He was sitting on the couch, and I came in. I said, Dad. I said, you awake, Dad? And he looked to the side and seen who it was. And for the first time I seen my father cry. The only thing he said was, I'm glad you came, son. And then he just started crying. That was the first time I had seen my father shed any tears. And I just held his hand and I just cried with him, because I've never seen my father cry. And that was the first time. And we stayed with him for like 3 days. But I tell you one thing that really, really got me is I'm used to seeing my father's house with life. He got about 6 arcades downstairs in the basement. He got his karaoke machine on. He got 3 TVs on. He got his Alexa playing back there behind the bar. He got the other TV on behind the bar. Just so much light. But when I came in there, no TV was on. No Alexa was on. No arcades was on. No, nothing was on. No music, no nothing. So, he passed away August 12, 2025. He wanted to be cremated. That was his own wish. I miss him. But the thumbnail is what I came to talk to you about. I was sitting in the office thinking to myself, one vivid, very vivid memory that I have of my father is when we were in the house and he came there wanting to make breakfast. So he asked us what we want, and we said, pancakes. So he he takes this big cast iron skillet. It's probably about 15 inches wide, diameter, and probably about 8 inches thick. And he fills this skillet up with batter to make this big, thick, 8-inch thick pancake. And me being little, everything looked big. The cast iron skillet was already big, and I was little, so I couldn't even lift the thing. And to see this big, and he put the pancake on one big plate for me and my brother and sister to eat. It probably wasn't enough syrup to go around to put on that. Because the syrup was soaked right into the pancake. So, and I asked my mom that earlier, and I said, "Ma, do you remember Dad coming to the house making this big, thick pancake?" I said, "Was that just my imagination? If that really happened?" She said, "Nope, that really happened." And we sat there laughing about it on the phone. I said, "Yeah." I said, "I remember that like it was yesterday." And if any really vivid memory of my dad that I have, that has got to be the one. Is that me and my brother and my sister were sitting around a table, and he done put this pancake batter in this 15-inch, 8-inch deep iron skillet, and make this big old pancake. Yeah, if I ever get one of them cast iron skillets, I'm gonna try it myself just to see if I can do it. All I know is at that time I couldn't lift that skillet. Too heavy for me. Too heavy. But my dad could lift it. And as long as he made that pancake, as me and my brother and sister, we was just fine. Happy as we wanted to be, because we had never seen a pancake that thick. And that big for that matter, whatever. Oh yeah, but yeah. Rest in peace to my father. I love him and I miss him. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Like and subscribe. This is Howard Talks. I'm out.